If you see any warship in your vicinity, keep a distance more than 10 miles from them, because I'm ready to open fire on them without any warning.
Happy weekend, happy Sunday, everybody. Or is it? The Strait of Hormuz is officially at a Mexican standoff. That's right. We now know that Iran is not willing to make a deal with the United States. Vice President J.D. Vance just got back recently from his trip overseas. And, well, you're going to hear what he has to say in just a moment. But we have more and more updates, like fresh off the press news that's happened within the past hour, even, where Iran is threatening America and American vessels, and America is threatening Iran once again. So tensions are very much on the rise. This could go very sideways very, very fast. And this video is sponsored by Private Internet Access, the best way to protect yourself online, but more on that later. Let's get into this video.
And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis, who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms. Questions?
Sir, Nick Robertson from CNN. Precisely what have they rejected here? Can you help us understand it a little bit?
Well, I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again,
and that is just not coming to an agreement on that particular issue. And there's probably other issues that Iran is not willing to work with. But if we see right here, you'll see what I'm talking about, because I've got a lot of text updates. Okay, so Polymarket says just in, Iran has reportedly refused to commit to ending their nuclear program. That's one of the biggest ones. Then you've got the UK will not be involved in US blockade of the Hormuz Strait and is currently urgently working with France and other partners to put together a wide coalition to protect the freedom of navigation. Saudi Arabia says the east to west pipeline has been restored to its full capacity, which is pumping 7 million barrels of oil per day, and that bypasses the Strait of Hormuz. Then Trump threatens China with 50% tariffs if it helps Iran with their military. Iran says they will now treat any U.S. military vessel approaching the strait as a ceasefire breach to be dealt with strongly. Then President Trump received a text message from Norway's prime minister urging Trump to lower the temperature, and Trump's response was pretty badass.
Dear Donald, we believe we all should work to take this down. Trump responding with a jab. Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. Now,
I mean, if there's ever been a mic drop worthy moment, that is it. And then we got to talk about this weird transmission right here. So this is a transmission between the IRGC Navy ordering the United States to turn away from the Strait of Hormuz and issuing a last warning before threatening to open fire. I mean, this is getting way out of control.
This is Sepang Navy Station. You must alter course and go back to the Indian Ocean immediately. If you don't obey my order, you will be targeted. Out.
This is Coalition Warship 121. Engaged in transit passage in accordance with international law. No challenges attended to you.
U.S. Navy warship transiting in the vicinity 4J report and Oman Sea. This is Sepang Navy. This is Sepang Navy. Last warning, last warning, last warning.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in Oman Sea. This is Iranian Sepah Navy. If you see any warship in your vicinity, keep a distance more than 10 miles from them because I'm ready to open fire on them without any warning.
Holy smokes. I mean, the temperature is rising. And one thing is for certain, the United States of America, the president, Donald J. Trump, does not tolerate that crap right there. You want a reason? You want a reason for American military to go and blow the shit out of Iran? That right there is a pretty big freaking reason. But now we got to talk about the best way to protect yourself. I can't protect what's happening from the war, but we can protect ourselves online, which is a perfect segue into today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. If you're watching this channel, chances are you already know how crazy things are getting online. Between censorship, data tracking, and companies selling your private information, your privacy is under attack 24/7. That's why I use Private Internet Access VPN. It's one of the most trusted VPNs out there with millions of users, and it does exactly what you think it should. It protects your data, hides your IP address, and lets you browse the internet like you're supposed to, privately. And here's the thing, your internet service provider can legally track and sell your browsing data. That's not a conspiracy, that's real. Private Internet Access encrypts your connection so they can't see what you're doing. It's also insanely useful if you want to travel or just want unrestricted access, whether that's streaming, news, or content that gets blocked depending on where you are. Setup takes 2 minutes. With one click, you are fully protected. So if you care about your privacy, and honestly, you should, click the link down below in the description or scan the QR code on your screen and you get 83% off plus 4 months for free. You also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So there's literally zero financial risk just to try it out. Get protected, stay anonymous, and take back control of your internet. So after the Iran threats took place, President Trump took to truth and he posted this, where Trump orders the U.S. Navy to blockade the Strait of Hormuz to any and all ships trying to enter or leave. Also instructing the U.S. Navy to seek and interdict any vessel or every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. You can see here, effective immediately, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the strait. I've also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict any vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. The blockade will begin shortly. And so there you go. President Trump has put his foot down saying, no. Iran's not doing this. We're not putting up with this. So I want to pass the question off to you. How do you feel about this? The ceasefire? That's last week's news. The potential of negotiations with the terrorist regime, the IRGC, that's yesterday's news. Today, seems like everyone is buckling up for war. And, well, this might get ugly really, really fast. Iran might be on the receiving end of, mass destruction, weapons like Palantir. It's not going to be good for Iran.
Iran promised to open the Strait of Hormuz, and they knowingly failed to do so, the president writes. This caused anxiety, dislocation, and pain to many people and countries throughout the world. They say they put mines in the water, even though all of their Navy and most of their mine droppers have been completely blown up. So there you have it. The meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not. Effective immediately, the president states, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out basis, but Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion, and leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. I have also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. We will also begin destroying the mines the Iranians laid in the straits. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell. The president writes, Iran knows better than anyone how to end this situation, which has already devastated their country. Their navy is gone. Their air force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and radar are useless. Khomeini and most of their leaders are dead, all because of their nuclear ambition. The blockade will begin shortly. Other countries will be involved with this blockade. Iran will not be allowed to profit off this illegal act of extortion. They want money, and more importantly, they want nuclear. Additionally, and at an appropriate moment, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. President Donald J. Trump.
Truly an extraordinary move by the president that follows on a lot of extraordinary moves by the president, recognizing that these are international waterways, and for 47 years you've had the mullahs of Iran holding the Strait of Hormuz hostage, holding the entire world hostage because of a weird little crook in the Strait of Hormuz that dives deep into Iranian territory that allows them to control 20% of the world's oil and gas supply. And President Trump has called their bluff. He has basically captured the hostage and says, no more. You're not going to do it. And I predict that other countries that rely on that oil and gas more than the United States does, are going to come around and realize that this is probably the only way forward.
So Iran felt like they had the upper hand, that they had leverage by trying to take this strait. Yep. And in a, as they always 1,394 square mile center of that strait, where hundreds of tankers are passing every day, they have allegedly mined it. Reports are that they don't even know where the mines are. They put it there, thus redirecting any traffic that went through to come through Iranian waters, to which they made them pay a toll. Those are the ships the president's going to go after. But this decision to begin effective immediately blockading ships going in and out is a indication that Iran never had the leverage that they thought they had. As we send in 2 destroyers into the strait to begin the mine clearing conditions and now blockade.
Nobody can say that President Trump didn't try. President Trump has been waiting and waiting and waiting, and he's very much put peace and negotiations and diplomacy ahead of anything else. I think that is, nobody can argue that, right? Or else you would have seen all hell rain on Iran, and that's not the case at all. President Trump very much has been proven time and time again to be the peace president. However, you can only do negotiations for so long until they're doomed to fail. And it seems like Iran negotiations are doomed to fail. How much longer is President Trump and his administration really supposed to try to negotiate things? The world knows, the world agrees that Iran cannot and shall never have nuclear weapons or nuclear capabilities. Everybody, the left, the right, in America, the whole world can agree to that. And if that's the one thing they aren't willing to give up, then what the hell are we talking about here? What's the holdup? I mean, President Trump has waited. I mean, this has been going on for over a month now, and it's still been peace and negotiation and ceasefire time and time and time again. And I think now it's a breaking point. If Iran truly isn't willing to cooperate and they want to start tolling the open waters, I mean, that on its own is going to keep oil prices high and gas prices high. That's not what anyone wants. So nobody wants war, but nobody wants Iran to control the strait with these $2 million per ship tolls. I mean, that's lunacy, right? It's open waters.
It to render Iran's leverage really useless, that they can't affect it. Now, this goes back, by the way, to have full context of it, because the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea says that no bordering country to any strait, let alone Hormuz, can control it, let alone charge any sort of toll. And so the president's decision here is not only a reaction as a last resort to the fact that Iran won't play by the international law of the sea. But also, you just had, on April 7th, the United Nations held a resolution to basically open it up and tell Iran they could not do what they were doing, and it was vetoed by Russia and China. And so ultimately, this isn't just about Iran anymore. This is now also about China, who receives 80% or more of these oil tankers going to them. 90% go to Asian countries, and it is backfiring as shipping of energy starts heading east,
and this also
towards the U.S.
This forces countries like China to suddenly wake up and recognize that, wait a minute, we have to participate in this and clear the strait.
Do you remember after the successful...
Almost every country on the planet is going to be working to clear the Strait of Hormuz and to get back to a sense of normalcy. Even this affects China, this affects Russia, this affects every country that is supposedly against the United States. And now everyone has a common goal to put Iran in its place and to realize that a terrorist regime cannot be in control of the flow of oil like this. And ultimately, this is only going to benefit America and Americans, I think, where if America does control the energy sector, I mean, America controls American oil. For the most part, Canadian oil is heavily influenced by America. America controls Venezuelan oil right now, even though it's not America controlling it, but it's through like a proxy, right? I mean, they have influence over it, obviously, with what recently took place. And now the Strait of Hormuz, that's massive. America will predominantly have a form of control or heavy influence over the entire world's energy sector. That is quite important for a timeline in which places like China and Russia and Iran and North Korea are constantly trying to destabilize the United States. Rome fell. It was once an empire and it fell. Empires fall. America is potentially going to fall, but that can be postponed or that can be reversed. And right now what you're seeing is President Trump is trying to reverse the fall of the United States because so many countries are trying to knock off world dependence from the US dollar, to knock off America controlling the energy sector. But with what President Trump's been doing, this game of chess and circumstance, and maybe there's some luck, maybe there's all tactics, it's working out to be in America's favor. I don't think that I want to live in a world where my kids have to learn a form of Chinese dialect or Russian. I like Western values. I like that. Do you? If you do, then you should be pro-America.
In rescuing the second airman, the downed Wizzo, Director Ratcliffe came out and spoke along with General Kane and Secretary of War Hegseth. And the director said, you know, we have the best military in the world. We have the best agency. We have the best intelligence, bar none on the battlefield, better described than I'm paraphrasing right now. But he said, but none of that matters. And all of that flies out the window without a commander-in-chief who has the political courage to put it into effect. And I know that's a different specific scenario than this, but I am reminded of that statement that all of our capabilities are rendered impotent and useless without a commander-in-chief and a president with the political and the geopolitical and the diplomatic vision to truly put American interests first. This issue with Iran has been a thorn in the side of America and the free world for almost 50 years. And we have seen what used to be one of our strongest allies become our definitively strongest enemy, in addition to China, over the last 50 years. And every commander-in-chief kicked the can down the road. And finally, we have one. And it's sticky. We are watching the sausage being made. This is not pleasant, but it's necessary.
And every president of both parties, both Democrats and Republicans, have recognized this problem, and nobody has wanted to go after it. And also, we find ourselves, President Trump finds himself in a situation where you have the United Nations and NATO completely feckless, completely incapable of recognizing the importance and the wisdom of actually going after this problem and clearing the problem once and for all. For decades, you've had countries in fights with proxies of Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, where they've played all these games. Iran has funded all of them. Nobody has funded more weaponry that has killed American soldiers and probably soldiers of other countries, with the exception of, outside of Ukraine, since World War II, than Iran. Iran is the world's greatest sponsor of terrorism around the world. And President Trump says, you know what? I'm not fighting with the proxies anymore. I'm going to cut the head off the snake.
If we could put that map up again of this strait, because I think what's really fascinating in the president's truth, and there you see it, in the blue is that main roughly 1,400 square mile area that you would have normal shipping routes going through. Now, Iran has said that's dangerous. There's mines in there. In that hazardous area, you see it blocked with the red lines going across, forcing ships to go through the red area, which are these shipping routes that Iran is apparently charging tolls for. And the president,
and those red areas are the Iranian territorial waters.
Correct. Those are the new shipping routes that Iran has forced ships to go through, because you can't go through the normal passageway. That is the violation of the law of the sea created by the United Nations Convention. And that is why President Trump is taking this step of blockading the ships. But what's fascinating is he says in his Truth Social, in capital letters, this is world extortion. And that's exactly the point that he's making. No country can take a international shipping route, take it hostage, attempt to, and redirect ships through their waterways, which is Iranian, close to shore is Iranian waterways, right? And charge a toll. And this is, I would say once this blockade begins, the end, even short-term result is going to be a abject failure on Iran's part to attempt to take this strait hostage. We had earlier this morning Tom Sauer, a retired Lieutenant Navy commander that was in Navy EOD, and he talked about the men and women that are going in on the Peterson and the Murphy, the two destroyers you saw on that map. They're now going in to start clearing the mines and start paving conditions. There you go. The USS Peterson and the Murphy have gone in. He said he was actually begging Admiral Cooper to send him, because this is what they've trained for their entire life. He said the plan to do something like free a strait, like the Hormuz Strait, has been around for decades.
Trey joined us earlier, saying two salient points. One of which,
this is going to be, I think it's going to be a bloodbath this week. I think come Monday, if there isn't a form of a last minute resolution from Iran willing to negotiate properly with the Trump administration, this is probably going to get very much out of control. So let me know what you guys think is going to happen. Do you think that this is going to result in a form of carpet bomb on Iran? Do you think that you have the United States that's going to start taking out their power plants, like what was supposed to happen before the ceasefire, or if the ceasefire hadn't been agreed upon, but it was at the last second through proxies like, I think it was Pakistan and China? This is probably going to get ugly before it gets better. That's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It does seem like there is a lot of doom and gloom, but that's kind of the reality of the situation that we're currently living in. It's very unstable. It's kind of reminds me of that old saying, we don't negotiate with terrorists. For this reason, terrorists apparently don't want to negotiate. So why should we negotiate with terrorists? That's the video. Hit the like, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.